Hey, the Pistons are scrappy, but it's quickly looking like we got all our balls in that lottery bag. Down! All Lions fans drinking that Kool-Aid. Super Bowl! Hey, disagree with me or don't. That's how it works. All right, everybody. Hey, welcome back. It's another episode of DWMOD meets All Right Bet. We got the NFL Playoff Pick'em Challenge. And as always for this contest, we got my man, Andy St.Clair, and my man, Anthony Fanelli in the house. Fellas, how was that weekend of football for you, man?
You know, it's always great. We had, 6 games? I have to say, I didn't mind the 2-2-2, the Saturday, Sunday, Monday. I liked the 2 on Monday, though the early morning time slot where there was like 5 hours of no footballs, you were waiting, was the only thing that was driving me a little crazy. So we can adjust those times a little bit, NFL. I'm all for 2-2-2.
Yeah, not bad.
I don't know about the Monday game.
Now.
Right, exactly. One Monday, I mean, fine. 2 Mondays, I didn't mind, but just let's move it a little earlier because, you know, out here on the West Coast, like it was like 1:30 when the game started, and I was like, and especially when you have young kids, and Anthony, I know you have young kids, like you're up early, and you're just looking at the clock, and you're like, I got another 6 hours until football starts.
Yep. Yeah, it was a long day on the East Coast. You're sitting here waiting until 4:30, and I'm like, man, it's almost dark, man. And then the game finally comes on. So it was a little different for me, but you know, you're right though, Anthony. You got them youngsters, man. You're waiting all day.
Monday throws you off because in the game, what time did the game start? At like 1:30?
Yeah.
PST on a Monday. That threw me off. But yeah, I missed the 10 a.m. games are nice on Pacific Standard, especially when you're used to your team losing, because that way your whole day's not ruined. You still have like an afternoon.
Yeah.
But 2-2-2 was good. There's no Monday game this week though.
Right.
I do believe, right? No.
Nope.
It's all it's all Saturday, Sunday. But yeah, I think that worked out well probably for the thing that was crazy was what everyone's complaining about. I don't know what this means Nielsen wise, but most streamed on Peacock for the Dolphins and Chiefs.
Sure.
But like, I don't know what that means in terms of streaming minutes versus viewers on like a regular telecast. But it wasn't. I had to buy it on a Peacock. I had to get it.
I know.
I would love to see. I would love to see the numbers of like the how many people dropped Peacock after that. Right. Like
it's got to be like a 90% at least turn on that.
For sure.
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah,
I did.
Or people like my parents, you know, they live in southern Missouri, so they're not in the Kansas City area. So I asked my dad. My mom's like, told my dad, like, you just get the 7-day trial. My dad was like, no, he won't do it. He wouldn't. He would stand on his principles. He'd listen to the Chiefs game on the radio like it was the 60s.
Love it.
They weren't playing. He's like, I won't do it because he knows what's going to happen. He's going to get Peacock. He's absolutely going to forget about it. And at the end of the year, he's going to be like, wait, where is this $100 going? And then he's going to figure it out. He's like, that was an expensive Chiefs game. He would just rather, he's not going to do it.
Yeah, it was. I'll tell you what, too, man. I got to put Peacock on blast for the commercials for that thing, too. I'm watching the commercials, and my man's like, for the first time in NFL history, a playoff game will stream on Peacock. And then at the end, they're like, you don't want to miss history. I'm like, yeah, because we're all going to be like 15 years from now. Like, I remember where I was when the first playoff game streamed on Peacock, man. What?
Yeah. It was like the JFK assassination, but for streaming football.
You knew where you were.
Yeah.
I hate it when like NFL guys and journalists like get so I get it because it's their job, but they're like on who broke the news. But it's just like for the people that are just consuming it, it's just like I don't care if Schefter broke it or someone else broke it. Just tell me what the actual real news is.
Right.
Like, I don't know. I know that's a loose thing. Loose stuff.
It is because usually the 10th guy that broke it has the right story. You know what I mean? The first 9, it's like, well, that wasn't right. Well, that wasn't
you guys
right.
think people care about that, and that's way inside baseball. That's only you guys.
Yeah.
Where were you when you first watched the streaming game?
I know. Where were you when Peacock first streamed? Shut up, man. Like, it was so stupid. Anyway, man, let's jump into some quick hits this week, guys. All right, guys. So rookie quarterbacks this weekend in the playoffs, man. Like, let's touch on this thing. CJ Stroud and Love. Look, I know Love's not technically a rookie, but he's a rookie. It's first year starting in the NFL. Man, Packers go into Dallas and we thought Dallas might get exposed, but my God, somebody threw the door open to the dark room and it was bad news, right?
Yeah, the Love has been, they were like 2-5. And then Love has been the second half of the year, just they figured it out, right? Like LaFleur, I have to admit that going into this year, I kind of thought LaFleur was an okay coach. I didn't think he was great or that good. My opinion of LaFleur has changed a lot, I think, in the last 10 weeks, the last 10 NFL weeks. So, they clearly, I mean, the gap between LaFleur and McCarthy was, is sizable ultimately. And LaFleur was, and maybe this is the year that LaFleur kind of probably had the most fun coaching because, he had Rodgers those 3 years. I'm sure he would tell Rodgers, run this play. And Rodgers was probably like, no, man, we're going to run this play. And he's like, fuck. He was probably looking for the door. And then they traded him. He's like, honey, take the house off the market. Well, I think we're going to stay.
Yep. Yeah, man.
Yeah. Well, I gotta say, first of all, I don't agree with the Jordan Love as a rookie. He's been in NFL systems for years now.
Yeah.
There's a lot to go to say that practicing. Yeah. I get it. It's like 100% in the game, but yeah, I think what's this? He's the highest rated quarterback since like week 11 or 12 out of everybody, man. And like his receivers, it's been a revolving door of injuries and backfield. Aaron Jones, I don't know what his total game count was, but Dylan's been in and out. So it's just like, I mean, who could have predicted that? The team that barely squeaks in, knocks off the perennial number 2 that everyone said, again, Cowboys, so take it for what it's worth. This was their year. But it's just like, were they looking ahead? I mean, NFC East, what a stink show. What was the final to the Cowboys? 48-32, but what was it?
Well, they were letting them score at the end.
Those are all just garbage points and garbage everything. But it was like, no one for the Cowboys seemed to care. It was weird.
Yeah.
Like,
they just had no answer. Yeah. It was, the Packers had the Cowboys right where you got to put the Cowboys to put them away. You get up on them early, and then that defense can't go into that mode where they're just like pinning their ears back and coming after you throwing the football because you got to try to throw the ball to get back in the game. You know what I mean? Once you got up on them, that team is built to straight up rush the passer, and that's it. That defense looks lost when the offense is in control of, we can be patient here. I mean, they just look lost, man. They do,
Well, the other thing, if you're I was just thinking about this yesterday. It's like Jordan Love is the best quarterback left playing in the NFC. Like if you're just picking a team, like best quarterback left. If I was starting picking a quarterback to start out of the NFC teams, just NFC, Jordan Love would be the number 1 pick, right? So like I think he has to be, right? He just absolutely. So it's like at that point, if I'm mixing these two things, I know the golf head over here.
Yeah, I say golf maybe, but hey,
no, there's no way. If you're making a pick, if you want to just kind of put a little future on something, I think right now in the NFC, like I think the best bet future wise is Green Bay to win the NFC, and if you do that, you get like 1,100. Then if you do that, I think you got to take Green Bay to win the Super Bowl. It's crazy to say, but look, they went into Detroit and beat them at Thanksgiving. Trust me, I lost a ton of money on that game. I have that game burned into my brain. So if they beat San Francisco and let's say the Lions win, okay, then it's going to be a very interesting game. So I just think it's the best bet on the board, and you're going to get the best quarterback, and that is advantageous.
Yeah, what they say for value. That's a pretty good value with an outside chance right now. There's no doubt about that. I'll agree with the point you made earlier too, Andy, about LaFleur. Like, it just goes to show you, man, when a good coach has control of the team and some diva's not running the team, and you don't have to walk around in kid shoes, and you can actually just be in charge and the guys buy in, you see that these coaches are way better than you think, man. Like even in Kansas City, like Mahomes has every reason to be a diva and call every shot he wants. He doesn't. Reed calls the shots, and that's why that team works. You got to let the coach be the coach, man. I mean, you've been in situations like that, Anthony, right?
Well, look at the 4 NFC teams. Like, yeah, all 4 quarterbacks, not one of them is like Baker's what? The least paid besides Purdy, he's the least paid out of all the quarterbacks left. And Purdy's just because, he was basically drafted when I was. Basically, you know what I mean? Right. Like just and
he beat you by 1. Purdy beat you by 1.
Beat me by 1. That's so funny. That year. Beat me by 1.
By 1.
But that's true. Like I've always said that, and like I hammer around with the Bills, but once I know we'll get to that, but it's like once they stopped having to try to force feed the ball to Diggs to make him happy, they became a better team because it's so many pieces that go into it. And it's just like, look at the 4 teams that are left. Like if you're playing the Niners don't count, kind of take them out because they have so many weapons. But if you're playing the Packers, like no one really stands out on offense as that guy. You got all the young receivers, you got Wicks, you got Watson. If Aaron Jones is healthy, he's still pretty formidable. And then the same thing like with the Lions. Like if Laporta doesn't beat you, St. Brown will. And then they got the 2 back. It's nice to see the teams in the playoffs currently. Yeah, Mahomes is an outlier as like a diva or non-diva that would be one. Same thing with Lamar. Lamar Jackson's very buttoned up too.
He is.
And I like to see that. It's like, yeah, the teams win. And of course, now all you're going to hear all week from everybody outside of this is going to be talking about the Cowboys and just Dak and just Jalen Hurts and just this. Just like, yeah, it's a team game, guys.
Yep. That's all they're doing, man. I had to put, first take? I had to put first take on blast yesterday on Twitter. I'm like, man, all you guys can talk about is how bad the Cowboys got their ass beat. There was another game on yesterday, and it was a really good football game with a better story than this game, and I ain't even talking about it. No. I mean, nobody's talking about the Lions game, and I'm not just as a Lions fan, from a story standpoint. Stafford Hall of Famers going home. We've been through it. McVay, Goff, the whole thing, and you're like, oh, Cowboys lost. Big story. What? Stop it. It's annoying, man. It was annoying. But speaking about divas tearing up a team, what is up with the meltdown in Philly, man? Like, what happened there?
What was it, 6 of the last 7? I think broken clock, right, twice a day. That was like my only good call was the Eagles and Bucks. And it was just about the 4th loss out of the 5 for the Eagles. Like everyone's just like, they're going to turn it around. But after that Giants game, the last week of the season, it was just like, no, they're not. No. And that game, first of all, how are professional athletes that bad? You just got to stand in front of people and let them run you over, then attack them. I mean, the 2 first touchdown passes that Baker threw were 7, 8-yard passes that they just broke through bad angles, through bad tackles. And then the offense, they went to Swift early for like 2 or 3 rushes, and he was getting like 5 or 6 a chunk. And then we're like, nah, we're done with that. We don't have A.J. Brown. Devontae Smith played great, but it was. No one looked like they wanted to play. Like they just were like, all right, we're just here to be here. I don't know. That was kind of like, I was cheering for the Bucks, but I don't think anybody kind of expected that. It was just like, look at everyone on the Bucks team going nuts. Sidelines, coaches, players on the field. It was Eagles. It was just nothing. And then once they got stopped on the tush push, it was like, oh, they're done. Like, and Hurts took that weird safety. That was just
what was that? Throw it away.
An odd play for him where he couldn't get away physically, which he usually does, and then that was just weird because that ball was snapped at like the 3 or 4. Like that wasn't. And I think that was the same. Was that the same drive where Gainwell like tried to go outside and reversed field and lost like 8 yards? So it was like little kid stuff. It was like, what are you guys doing?
It was. I didn't understand that call though. Like he was clearly outside the tackles and threw the ball away, and then they called grounding, and I was like, wait a minute, what now?
Or he was already down.
I thought he was already down.
Angle of it. They never showed another angle of it. They just and he's righty, so we couldn't really see, from our angle. I don't know.
I didn't get it. I was like, these referees I don't know if they know what the hell's going on sometimes. If he's down, which I think he was on the one short replay they showed. I thought he was down anyway. It was a safety, but they're like, got together and discussed it and threw a flag for grounding. And I'm like, he's over by the pylon throwing that ball away. I think it's outside the tackles.
Well, then I think it goes back to your point you made last week, Mike, was just like the Bears. They got rid of everyone but Eberflus. What do you think? Do you think the Eagles do the reverse? We get Sirianni, but we ride with the coordinators because they only had 1 year. Or because the Eagles are aging on defense, a couple of those guys are going to be gone. So it's like, what exactly do you do? But that was brutal. What a 10-1 to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
I think they're over under too, by the way, in the year was 11.5. Can you imagine? I didn't bet it, but can you imagine holding a ticket for the over at 11.5 and they're 10
Oh,
and 1?
man. Yeah.
That would be just horrifying. That would have been horrifying.
Yeah. I don't know what they do, man. I don't know.
Yeah. The Eagles have fired coaches for a lot less. One of them coaches in Kansas City, for sure. They fired Peterson after 2 years, after winning a Super Bowl, right?
Yep.
So, I think if you're looking for like a Belichick spot to me or a Vrabel spot, that's the spot ultimately, is as a spot there, depending on a few things. I don't know. I'll just touch on the Eagles game. I'm with you, Anthony. I thought when the tush push didn't work, that's when I thought the game was over because there were so many times in the safety, right? The safety and the tush push that didn't get. I was like, oh, this is done. The Bucs were clearly the better team in the first quarter, and maybe even in the second quarter, but the game wasn't out of reach, right? Eagles had some opportunities. They were driving, and then they would stall out at like the 45 or, I legit thought, and I texted you guys, if they can score, if they get a touchdown, I still think they're going to win. But they just never could get over the hump. And I thought that tush push on 4th and 1, when they didn't get it, then I was like, oh, well, now they're in trouble, right? Like, it's like when Hogan body slams Andre. You're like, oh, he's going to lose, right? He shouldn't lose. Because I think I maybe texted you guys once. It was like 4th and 1 or 2, or 3rd and 2, and they threw it. And I think I texted you guys, why didn't they run it for a yard and then do the play that works 97% of the time? It doesn't make any sense. Like for the Eagles, it should be 3 downs to get a first down, right? Just get close. We'll get the tush push, and it's money in the bank.
Yeah, they just looked like they just weren't on the same page. Like the sideline language the whole game. I mean, you see that clip of Goddard over there just reaming Hurts. And Hurts is just sitting there like this on the bench, like just looking off in the distance, like I could give a fuck what any of you have to say. Like I think he was burned out on all of them. I mean, you could just see it everywhere. It just looks like that team just totally fell apart. And it's Kelsey's last game. He knows he's retiring and shit, and they can't get it together. And I'm just like, now listen, Sirianni, they lost both coordinators, right? Like offense and defensive coordinator coming into this season. That's a tough thing. It is.
Those guys were good. Those guys were really good.
Very good. I guess it just leads me to it's got to be the coach right now, right? You're not getting rid of any of these players. And if you're going to have to bring in new offensive and defensive coordinators, it looks like he's lost the room to me. I don't think he's a bad coach at all, but it just looks to me like he's lost the room. It's hard to get it back,
Yeah, I'm with you. It looks like I think he's actually kind of a good coach. So if I'm the Eagles, I might try to hang on to him, but boy, that game in the last 7 weeks for the Eagles, it's going to be very hard for the management to hang in there with that guy, I think. So, especially with all these great coaches just sitting there, right? Like the Vrabel, I'm just going to repeat what I said 5 seconds ago. Vrabel would be awesome as Philly's coach. That would be an awesome place for Vrabel. So,
yeah.
But you could steal good coordinators because Sirianni's not calling the plays. So it's like he's just, overseen. He's a Tomlin situation. So you could they lost coordinators, but they also had horrible penalties. They had 3 illegal men downfield, way downfield. So something's off with the timing, with the Blake. There's just so many things wrong with that machine. It wasn't just one little bolt was loose. A bunch of little pieces were just unraveling. I mean, Devontae Smith, who I still don't – if you look at him without his pads on, he just would walk by on the street. You knock him down. But he's just electric out there.
That's the IT guy.
Him shine. And even if Brown's there, I mean, that's not a big difference. Because it was 18-9. Then the Bucs went down and scored again. But it was and the Bucs also – I think, I'm going to pat myself on the back for one thing because I failed on everything else was the Cade Otton. I think we all said he was going to go to Otton, and Otton ended up with 8 or 9 catches, but he also dropped.
Yeah, 5 balls.
They had a total of 6 drops. So it's Baker had a great day stat-wise, could have been even better-wise percentage. I mean, Mike Evans dropped that first one up the sideline. That is rare.
Well, that's the, you get those Mike Evans games, right? sometimes it's like he's Spider-Man, right? It's like just get the ball close and he grabs them. And then there's some games where he's like me running a route in the NFL where it's like not even close, you know? So that is one thing. If you're the Lions, by the way, I'd be a little nervous about because the Mike Evans game is coming, right? Because that's just something for the Lions. Because that dude's he's not going to be as bad as he was yesterday, for sure.
No, yeah, he usually
he can't be any worse.
He's good for 3 catches, 130, and 2 TDs sometime in the near future. But
right,
they hit
right.
Hopkins, Bell, or not Bell, Dave Moore, like getting the other guys involved too. So it's like, and Rashad White had a good game, and Edmonds looked quick. Remember Edmonds from the Cardinals? He looked quick coming in off the bench. So
yeah, that's that thing. That's the thing for that Tampa Bay offense. If they can keep getting on the field, Baker's got to have the oven warm. You know what I mean? He needs the oven warm. And that defense in Tampa Bay is helping him right now. They're playing real well, and they're getting him back on the field quickly. So that's going to be the key for Detroit this weekend is get him on the sideline for a little bit, let that oven cool down, and then you'll see all the bread just doesn't rise. You know what I mean? Anyway, Anthony, let me ask you this, man. McCarthy, is he out?
My personal opinion would be no, because what's the alternative? You're just going to bring in, unless you bring in, I think one of you guys said in the text chain where it's like, if you bring in somebody it's their show, then it's going to be different. If you don't bring anybody and it's still Jerry's show, then it's not going to be different. It's just interchangeable from Garrett to McCarthy. What's the difference? Since Switzer, what has changed in terms of the coaching? The players are still always it's going to go Jerry, then the players, then the coach. That's the hierarchy with the Cowboys. So unless that changes, I like McCarthy. He's a Midwest dude. He's got that cool tool booth story when he was working for the Steelers. I think he got a bad rap in Green Bay. So, I like McCarthy, but it's I don't know. How much – when you lose by that much to a team you should beat by that much, it's just that's not all on the coach. I know a lot of it is, but obviously it comes from the top. So I don't know. These guys don't know what they're doing.
McCarthy's biggest problem is illiteracy, right? And his problem is illiteracy and the fact that he speaks 50 different languages. Probably he's an extremely intelligent guy, and by 50 different languages, I mean he's probably smart in everyday life. He understands X's and O's like none of us in this room right now do. He's an extremely smart football guy. Defense, offense, knows it all. Speaks 100 football languages. He just doesn't understand the one language that's constant around the globe, and that's numbers. The guy cannot understand a clock. He has no idea. He has cost them so much with that. He just doesn't understand. I think it was right near I don't know if it was nearing the end of the half or whatever. And they were like, why are you calling a timeout right now to get the ball back? And they were like, nah, he doesn't know he has them. It was just, he's bad, man. He's bad.
Yeah. All the coaches they have in professional football, assistant quality control. I don't understand how there's not one person dedicated with 3 minutes left to being in the coach's ears and being like you even hear announcers sometimes too. Say there's a minute and a half left and team's on their own 30 on second down and the defense takes the timeout. The booth guy's like, why are they taking a timeout? It's because they can get the ball back with 1:15 and possibly get a field goal. It's just that boggles my mind the same way. Why isn't a kicker punting if the punter goes down?
I don't get it.
Andy? It's the same thing. I'm with you. It's how do you not have someone just watching the clock and being like, all right, we need to burn one now?
It's bad. It's bad. I just don't get it, man. But I'm going to agree with you about the coaching situation in Dallas. And I think that was in the text thread. I was like, listen, you're going to hear all week about Belichick and Harbaugh to Dallas. And I'm like, no way. There is no chance Harbaugh or Belichick is walking into that building to play second fiddle to Jerry. Not a chance. And he ain't looking to bring them in. No way. Andy, right? No, or wrong?
Well, Anthony was like, what are the other options? There's a ton of good options. That is the thing. And the thing is, I think if I'm generally with you guys, it's kind of Jerry wants to be the star, right? He's the one giving these wild interviews after the game. I'm like, Jerry, you just sat in a fucking box and ate pretzels. You didn't do anything. Right? He's one of the first interviews. He's like, I'm shocked. I can't believe we didn't win. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's been in the NFL for 30 years. You know how games work, right? Like the Pats, the undefeated Pats, also it's impossible. It's not like it's impossible. You know, I guess so. I think there are options. I think if you're hoping, I believe Cowboys are going to keep McCarthy. I think they're going to do it one more year, and I'll give you my prediction here in a minute. But I just think Jerry is the kind of guy who's like, he doesn't get rid of coaches. You know, Garrett was there like 35 years when he should have been there 3, right? Campo, Ailey, Switzer. The only coach he hired and helped build the stadium was Bill Parcells. Like Parcells built that stadium. He needed the Cowboys to be kind of good so they could get the money to build the stadium. Bill Parcells went and got a great coach, right? And then you have McCarthy. McCarthy's wasn't an exciting hire, I guess. You know, so I kind of think of these coaches like restaurants. And they're like, so like my point is like McCarthy's restaurant and his coaching style is like, he's got a pretty nice building. When you guys walk into, you're going to be like, oh, it's nice. Everything's set up. They got a lot of good tables. It looks good. You know, it's a little overpriced. And you try the food and you're like, the food's fine. And then you don't go back. And then you don't go back to the restaurant. You're like, you know what? There are better restaurants, right? Like Belichick's restaurant it looks plain, but the food's great, right? It's like, it's kind of like it's a little hole in the wall restaurant. Yeah. You know, LaFleur's is like a little ma and pa shop, but the food's great. You know, Shanahan's is sharp looking and like a restaurant in the future, and the food's really good. McCarthy's his restaurant is a fancy looking restaurant, but the food's fucking average. And that is the problem with the Cowboys. The food's average, right? Yeah. Dak doesn't show up. Dak never shows up in the playoffs. The Cowboys they have to, in my opinion, they should make a change, but I don't think they will. I think they're going to keep their coach. My prediction, if I'm just going on a limb, this is like plus 1,000. I think they're going to hire Deion Sanders next year. I think they're going to let Sanders coach Colorado this year, finish out the last season with his son, and then Jerry is going to bring in a guy he considers a core member of the 90s Cowboys, even though it's not true. Even though it is not true, but that's what Jerry considers to be a core member. And I think it's going to be Deion.
Wow.
And it'll be the flashy, splashy hire.
Hey, I don't know, man. I think it goes against everything we were just saying, right, Anthony? I mean, that's the Deion show, but that sounds crazy. But hey, I've seen
Deion and Jerry are close. Deion and Jerry, like Jerry respects Deion. That is key. That is very key into coaching for Jerry. Jerry needs to respect you, and he has to have some respect for you. And Deion respects Jerry. He understands. But Deion's going to say that in a year from now, when we rewind and do this clip, and when it happens, Deion's going to be like, this is Jerry's house, but this is Prime's house, right? He's going to do that whole thing, and it's going to be Deion coaching the Cowboys. That's my wild prediction for 20.
Yeah, that's wild. That's wild. I'd argue Deion's coaching food is mediocre anyway, but you go ahead, Anthony.
The Deion thing. I'm still waiting for Deion to coach a team without his sons before I jump on that. Because he's been with his sons at every level. So I'm just like, will he have the same passion? And also at the pro level, are players going to put up with their coach being a celebrity like they can at the college level? That would be my thing. Because Deion's
interesting.
That would be the Deion Sanders Cowboys, not the Dallas Cowboys. So it's like, a huge splash. That would be news.
Be interesting.
Nonstop. Doesn't even matter if they win games. That's just news. I don't know. But also Deion's had health problems. Does he want to do that? You know what I mean? He can kind of just sit around in Colorado and have
him off the road, right? It takes Deion off the road in that way. True. He knows he's going to be in the South. He can tell. He can sign players. Jerry will be like the checkbook's open. I think there's a lot of positives. I think I've always kind of thought Deion wants to coach in the NFL. Deion can be like, God has told me to coach. I don't believe it personally.
Yeah, right.
I told me to coach the Cowboys. So here,
right.
Eventually, we're gonna get there. I think I guess I just think Jerry has a lot of options this year, and I just don't know if he's going to choose the button because he typically doesn't. Yeah. Belichick's not going to work there, unless Belichick becomes completely different person overnight. I don't see how he puts up with Jerry. Vrabel's possible. Again, I'm putting Vrabel in any job I can get.
Vrabel can fit in any job. The way he coaches, he'll fit in any job.
And it's not going to be Carroll. Then Seahawks will never let him go to the Cowboys, right? No. The other coach who I think in a week we could be talking about is Tomlin. I wouldn't be shocked if Tomlin, he left the presser. His contract's a mess.
We're going to get to that.
He's been awesome, but that would be the coach.
Yeah. I mean, hey, maybe you guys are both right. Maybe it's Dion to Dallas and they draft Shador, and there you go. Boom. Lines all up perfectly, right? Maybe that happens. Yeah,
I mean,
but I will tell you this.
I didn't even think about drafting his son.
Yeah.
By the way,
right.
It gives Anthony always coaching his son.
Yeah.
And it's a good call.
Yeah. And I love you heard it here first. So you heard that here first, guys. Dion to the Cowboys, they draft Shador. But I'll tell you one other thing you heard here first, and we got receipts for this one, Andy, at mid-season in All Right Bet, well before the college playoffs had started. We were saying it's going to be Harbaugh in San Diego and with the Chargers. We're like, Harbaugh to the Chargers, man. Harbaugh is going to wind up with the Chargers. And it's looking like that is probably going to happen. But we'll see. I'm not sure.
Maybe, right? Harbaugh's finicky. I have to admit that the one thing about Harbaugh, I don't understand his career arc, right? Like a lot of guys, when they get in one of college football or NFL, they just stay there, right? Eventually. But Harbaugh doesn't. He went to the Super Bowl, San Francisco, probably should have won. It was pretty good. Then he got ran out because of whatever reason. And then he went to Michigan, won a national title. You'd be like, you're probably good there. You could just stay at Michigan and then literally have a statue outside the stadium in 35 years and be like, you're like the new Bo Schembechler. And he's like, after he wins the title, he's like, I'm out, guys. I'm out to this rebuilding shitty fanless based Los Angeles Chargers team because they got an awesome quarterback. I'm like, dude, you can recruit the best fucking quarterbacks to come to Michigan. So I just don't get it. I don't get it.
He's always been a goal chaser, right? I mean, I think we talked about that before too, Anthony, that he's one of these guys that it's always like, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? That's what motivates him. And so I don't know. I think he might wind up out there.
Maybe he just doesn't want to be compared to his brother that's just hanging out in Baltimore nonstop. You know what I mean? Maybe Jim Harbaugh has had that personality of just a weird dude.
He is a weird dude.
There's just something off with him. But I think the LA Chargers job would be fun because it'd bring life to the LA Chargers, which they don't have out here. No. They try. The local media tries, but it's Rams and then 10 other things and then the Chargers.
Yeah, but they have so much cap problem. It's Herbert, who by the way is 500 quarterback. Herbert's an awesome quarterback, but it's not like he's 34-10. You know, he's 29-29, 30-30. They don't have
Derek Carr, the only ones that don't get criticized ever.
Who?
Yeah,
Herbert and Carr don't get criticized for being kind of average.
Yeah.
Get this, only if they had XYZ.
Right. And Herbert's got, and then Keenan Allen's old, right? That rookie from TCU last year, not very good. Right. And I don't know. I'm just not sure that I like the Chargers. In fact, I have them to win the Super Bowl this year on some future bet. I know this because I just lost them. I had Eagles Chargers a few places. So I don't know. I mean, maybe the coach was so bad.
I absolutely think that. Staley was so bad. He was so bad. He was costing them games left and right, giving teams the other ball in your own fucking red zone, going for it on fourth downs and shit. I mean, he was just absolutely abysmal. He was terrible. But let's jump to the next segment based on something that you said, Andy.
All right, everyone. Time to do me a favor and knock it off.
Listen. Mike Tomlin being out in Pittsburgh, the 24-hour news cycle of sports has jumped the shark. In what world are the Steelers looking to cut ties with this guy after what he pulled off last year and then he pulled a rabbit out of the hat last year. This year he pulled a fucking tiger out of a tin can, got them in the playoffs and won 10-11. I mean, in what world are they looking to move on? Or do you think Tomlin maybe wants to?
I think it's Tomlin. What are you talking about? The Steelers would never fire Tomlin. They only had two other coaches the entire life. They're not firing Tomlin. But Tomlin's running. Tomlin's a smart guy. He's running in the same. How many more years do I need to see this Steelers team, right? Tomlin gets them to 9-8. Then every wild card matchup, they go to play some team that has way better offensive players than them and better, and then they lose by double digits. Like it's happened the last like 2 or 3 years. I think Tomlin's smart enough to know, like, look, he's plateauing up to a certain level, right? Until he can get a quarterback. Tomlin's awesome. Tomlin spends 1 second as a free agent coach. Someone's going to pick him up, right? He would be awesome in Philly. That would be a really great place for him.
People will be firing their coach to try and hire him that weren't even looking to fire their coach.
Right. But what I'm saying is, like, it's becoming a tradition, right? Where the Steelers sneak in. They get a little help in the last week. They need one team to lose, and then they get their doors blown off in the first round on the Saturday or, Sunday, the Sunday noon game because they're a public team. So my point is, like, I'm sure it's tiring for Tomlin. And he's not a quarterback that they don't have one. They're not going to be they're never good enough to draft one. They have to get a free agent. They'd have to get somebody like Kirk, for that. Like, I don't know. I do think it's possible Tomlin leaves. Like, I think he's smart enough not to be tired of doing the same thing.
I think, Tomlin, they're not firing him. I'm wondering, like, Tomlin is so buttoned up with everything and the stuff he's put out. If Tomlin wrote a tell-all about like the behind the scenes of the Steelers, like through his years there, it'd probably be like, you'd probably even have more respect for him, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like what he's had to deal with. And like, I don't know, I mean, not many people do, like what kind of say he has in personnel and stuff like that. But you're right. It's like, I mean, they got lucky with Big Ben for all those years. And they're, 0 for 3 with their latest picks, trying to bring people in with Pickett and Trubisky. And I mean, Mason Rudolph was salvageable, but not win a playoff game, a bowl.
Right.
It's like, people would fire their coaches to get him and like rebuild. And how long has he been there? What is he? I think he got there in like 06, 07?
15, 16,
right after that Super Bowl in Detroit. Yeah.
He's coming up on end of the second decade there. He's been there a while. But it's also
not to mention he has kids, right? They're youngish and they're in their teens. Like, I think there's a lot of reasons for Tomlin to walk away, personally. Like,
what's his contract? One more year?
It's getting close, right? So, like, just a lot of reasons. I hate the
Steelers, but I've always liked Tomlin, and I despise everything about the Steelers.
Yeah,
because Steelers fans included their team at 8-8 one year.
He's the best coach in football. He's the best coach in football, hands down. There's no two ways about it. So maybe the bold prediction that needs to be made here, instead of like Tomlin's going to leave from some media outlets or from this one, is maybe this is the year the Steelers don't Steeler in the draft and sit tight and we know what we're doing. It's our ship and here's how we fill the seats. Maybe the Steelers, with pressure from Tomlin, finally do something they've never done and they rack up like 3 first-round picks, trade, move up, get a piece, and try to put it together. They never do that. If they do that this year, then I'm going to be with you guys that like, Tomlin went to the front office and was like, I'm gone if we don't start doing something to help me out. But
who's doing that trade? Like the Bears, I guess, right? But like the Bears aren't going to give the Steelers the number 1 pick for like 17. That would be, as a Bears fan, you would blow your brains out. You'd be like, wait, we don't even get Marvin Harrison?
Well, if they get a couple more, I don't know. Maybe
if you get top 8, you get a possible QB, like a possible. But they say that every year.
Right. So but how about this, though? How about if you're Washington or New England, you're both bringing in new coaches, Washington specifically, you've traded away everything you had on defense. You're in full-blown rebuild. Why not trade away the number 2 pick for 3 number 1s and move down to 11, right?
No.
Why? Go ahead and take
Caleb Williams is from DC. This is a play for Washington.
It's a bust.
It's not a bust.
It's Caleb a bust. Williams, that team's got nothing.
No. You got to get what are you fucking talking about? You got to get a quarterback. There, you get Caleb Williams. No. You got to. That is the way the NFL works. Ask the Browns.
I'm not saying they won't do it.
Cowboys.
I'm not saying they won't do it, Andy. I'm saying it's wrong. And Anthony,
it's not wrong.
Andy have this argument all the time.
Caleb
when your
Williams
team sucks and you draft a quarterback, he winds up being a bust because he can't do shit.
But you have to, because the quarterback market this year, free agent quarterback market, is Kirk Cousins. He's not going to Washington.
Washington's not going to win. You don't want Kirk Cousins. Yeah. Fuck it. Lose again next year.
You want it, you will with Caleb Williams, but you want Caleb Williams to be there in place. One, it attracts a head coach who's worth a shit. That they also have a new group of money. Also, Caleb Williams is from DC. It gets more people invested their money, the fans, into the stadium, into the team, into the apparel, into the game, which is more money for the football team, right? And so, like,
I don't know.
The Washington should be the team trading up with the Bears. The Bears should move from 1 to 2, and the Washington move from 2 to 1. Like Caleb Williams, I would say since 2011, it would go Andrew Luck, Caleb Williams, Joe Burrow. If all three of those guys were available coming out of college, I think they would go Luck, Williams, Burrow. Burrow, you recall, yes, Burrow's awesome now, but Burrow only had 1 year on that
greatest in the history of college football.
But he would probably be the third quarterback of those three.
Well, and that's because NFL teams get it wrong at a clip of 90%.
I always say if Mahomes got drafted by the 1 and 31 Browns, Mahomes would be on his like third team by now. Like it 100%. Does matter where you go.
100%.
And I mean, whatever. What the hell do I know? But I've watched Caleb Williams play a lot, and I don't see the for sure fire thing that everybody else does. I mean, time will tell. I thought the same thing with Bryce Young. I mean, obviously time will tell. But it was just like, it boggles my mind how many times NFL execs can be like, not wrong. Like you can get a player who's like solid, right? And but sometimes these quarterbacks are just so bad. Like just like everything about them that they're drafted so high. It's just, but going to watch, I get the Caleb story's good for football from Washington, goes to new ownership. Now he's in there. That makes sense from a financial and business standpoint.
I guess you want to make a few dollars.
You have to
make a few bucks and keep losing. Is Washington a team that has trouble selling tickets? No, that fan base is rabid for that team.
Well, now,
but what you're saying is that in the last like 8 games, right? In the last 5 years, when Dan Snyder, of 4 of those 5 years, when Dan Snyder was coaching, they lost a lot of money. They lost a lot of national TV, right? They lost a lot of everything. So again, my point is he's the best quarterback in this class. It's not even close, in my opinion. And he would get more people, more eyeballs, and get more community people coming back to the team, which is absolutely what Washington needs to do at this moment.
I don't know.
He's a pack. No one watches the games out west, though. Not many people watch him play. They just see the stat line. But he lost a lot. Like he had good numbers, but he lost a lot. So was he doing the Aaron Rodgers, what he admitted to? I'm not going to throw that pass and try to win the game because I don't want to get an interception and ruin my stats. You remember when that whole rumor came out? And that's why his stats were so good. But they were sitting at 8-7 going into the final games because he wasn't taking shots. So
I think it's this. You're 100% right about that, Anthony. And I think the style of play that Caleb Williams is like
great arm talent, though. He can sling.
He's got great arm talent, but he's one of these guys that likes to run around and create, and that's great. And that's the new thing in the NFL. It's this giant new fad. But I'm going to come back to what I've said 100 times. If you're Lamar Jackson and you're special, that's great. But even he's getting hurt. Caleb Williams ain't no giant dude. He's going to run around and wind up just like one of these fields where it's like, oh, he's going to miss 4 or 5 games every year because he's getting banged up. I'm out on him. And just from a front office standpoint, my stance, I can show you a million times where front offices have terrible teams and they go, take that quarterback. And then they suck. And that quarterback, like you pointed out, Anthony, is on his 4th team 5 years from now. And the teams that have had success build from the inside, get the quarterback when they need him. Look what when the Lions were drafted, everybody was nuts. They needed to get Fields. They needed to move up and get one of these quarterbacks. And they were like, no, we suck. We're taking Penei Sewell. We're taking Rag now. We're building from the inside. When we're ready for a quarterback, we'll get one. Now we lucked into Goff, but look at Houston. Same thing. How many years were they going to roll with Mills? They could have drafted quarterbacks. They're picking high. And they were like, no, we need to get a little bit better. Now we take Stroud. Look what you got. I just think that's the way to do it.
Look, Stroud at 2. What are you talking? Like
they took Stroud
then they took Will Anderson at 3, right? Then they traded
when
they
were ready.
They got what they look. If they didn't have Stroud, by the way, the Texans this year would have been 6-11. Like we saw them, and that's probably, let me tell you what, giving them 6 wins is probably kind, right? We saw the Browns destroy them 6 weeks ago without Stroud, just destroyed them.
Yeah.
And so my point, you're making what I think is my point, right? The quarterback, right? You didn't know who Nico Collins was a year ago. You don't act like you did. You did not. He went to Michigan, right? He's a good wide receiver, but you weren't ever being like Nico Collins, elite wide receiver. Nico Collins is an elite wide receiver because of CJ Stroud.
Stroud is great. Stroud is great.
Yes. And if my point is you can build 2 different ways, right? One way is the way the Lions did it, right? Which is they already had pieces, right? They'd already drafted, they had some pieces, they made some moves. The other is do it the way, in my opinion, the Texans did it, which is get fucking lucky with a quarterback. And then you can fucking outshoot everybody. You can drop 40, right? You can drop 48 on what you guys told me last week was the best defense in football.
He torched
on the numbers.
He torched them. Listen, I'm a Stroud guy. He torched them, but I'm saying.
So my point is,
Houston had chances to take quarterbacks in years before that, and they said, "There's no reason. We're not ready yet."
Caleb Williams can do the same thing. The team won't be as good, but he can be just as an important quarterback to Washington, in my opinion.
He may be, and that's going to bring us to our next point that I want to ask you guys about, and it is Caleb Williams. So I'm glad he came up. Listen, tell this kid to knock it off. All this stuff in the press this last week about his team is saying that they want assurances from the NFL and the Bears that they won't be picking him or he's not going to declare for the draft. Now, I know he's finally declared for the draft, but where does this kid get off with? Listen, it's not unprecedented for a guy to say, I'm not going to play for it. We saw Eli Manning do it. That's not unprecedented. To come out and say, the NFL needs to get together and get on the phone, talk with the Bears, and I need to have an answer on the phone saying they're not taking me or I'm not going to grace your league with my presence. And this on the heels of the stories that were leaking that whoever's taking me, I want part ownership of the team. What is going on with this kid, man?
See, that's my, like, are you ever, like, I guarantee this kid has always been number 1 by a long shot, no matter what he's done in life, right? Then he goes to Oklahoma. Then he goes to USC. Never has to like compete. Not to say he wouldn't win or anything like that. So it's like, are you going to go to the NFL to a bad franchise and lose games? What are you going to do then? Like, that's my whole thing. And maybe that's just a generational thing with the young guys coming up because all these quarterbacks are just getting their rings kissed all the way through college. And then, every single quarterback says, I'm going to be your guy to win the Super Bowl. Manziel got on the phone and told that to the Browns and then went and had a bender.
Right.
The same night. But like, that, because now from a business standpoint, it's like, oh, well, now the Bears, we're not going to trade with the Bears because if they draft Caleb, he's not going to play for them anyways. We'll figure something out down the road. It's like that kind of, not to say that's going to happen, but that stuff then comes into happen. So like, unbeknownst to him or his team, it's like you just kind of change the landscape of like draft day based on like, and the ownership thing, that's just insane. Like, I'm cheering against you now. You had 5 losses. In the Pac-12, there was 6 teams with better records, I think, in the Pac-12. Maybe that's 1, 2, 5.
And then he's in tears in the stands because the first time in his life, like you pointed out, he's not the winner and he's not the tops. And he's in the stands crying after losing to UCLA. And I'm like, you both suck. Who cares who lost that game?
I don't know.
Andy, what do you you seem higher on this kid than we are. What do you make of all that, man?
He is the best quarterback in the class. I'm confused. Like, his team didn't win. It's not in college. To me, it's a different game than pro.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's like Lincoln Riley is an awesome quarterback coach. Is Lincoln Riley a great football? Like, it's this year's USC team did what every Lincoln Riley team does. It's like preseason number 4, gonna be awesome, and they lose. They lose about 3 or 4 games. We didn't do it to Baker, Lincoln Riley. We didn't do it to Kyler, Lincoln Riley, Spencer Rattler, Lincoln Riley. Like Spencer Rattler's probably still in college. Probably got like 6 years left of eligibility.
Yeah.
You guys are acting like Caleb was he was the guy that like he he had to like play all the positions. Like he only do.
That's true.
USC
Like that. That's true.
USC threw up like 45 points a game. Their defense was just classic Lincoln Riley.
Yeah,
so,
that's fair.
Anyway, what he's asking for, by the way, which is what Washington will give him, because Magic Johnson runs the team. If he's good enough, he will get a part of that team in 20 years. Like yes.
Yeah, not on draft day.
Not on draft day, but yeah, he'll get the deal.
What if the Washington should bring back Kirk Cousins for 1 year, draft Caleb, and let him learn for like half the year?
I waste of money. Listen, I'm out on that.
Money. These guys, whatever. They'll figure it out. They'll do the show. Hey, the next ownership will have to deal with it.
Yeah, I guess you're right there. I don't know, man. If I'm the owner of the I'm the owner of the Commanders and I'm coming in, I'm like, this is fresh slate. I own the team now. We get a new coach coming in. We're cleaning the slate. I'm not rolling the dice on that. I'm like, let's get right before we try to put a kid in there we're going to end his career. You're going to end his career. I mean, I don't know. I think I don't know. He's a great quarterback. I don't want to be misunderstood here. He's very good. I don't think he's on the level of generational by any means. I don't. I think he's in a system, like you pointed out, Andy. He's been in a system where you just pointed out, we saw all these quarterbacks come through the system and, they're going to be the greatest thing since sliced bread. And, they've all been drafted so high and none of them have panned out. I'm putting him in that boat.
What are you talking about? Kyler Murray is in the NFL. He's very good.
Not. Kyler Murray listen, he's fun to watch sometimes. He don't win a whole lot of goddamn games. Has that been great for the Cardinals? They're one of the worst teams in the league.
They were 10-0 2 years ago or something like that, remember?
Yeah.
And then they got housed in the
playoffs. He got hurt.
Right?
He didn't play half the year.
Yeah.
You
want to just live in the world of like average to bad quarterbacks. Like, no, Kyler Murray's like the best athletic quarterback in the NFL. He's over the mark easily, right? It's not even close. Like, he's a freak.
Can't stay healthy because he's 5'10". It doesn't do me any good. When
didn't
he can't
get hurt
play.
This year. He got hurt last year, but he didn't get hurt in the games he played this year. He was good. The Cardinals team was pretty good down the stretch. I don't agree with what you're saying. Disagree with me or don't. But Kyler Murray is better for sure than you think he is. That's what I
would also say the cool thing about Kyler this year is he came back from that injury when the Cardinals
sucked.
We're done. Everyone knew it, and he played with heart. Like, when that was like his big question mark. Like, if he was ever going to take a play off, it was going to be coming back from an injury when your team's sitting on 2 wins, But no, he played hard.
Hey,
Baker, Lincoln Riley, Baker.
Yeah,
so, Baker's been fine. Baker's been fine. I'm not ripping on Baker. I like Baker, but I'm like, coming out, it was the Heisman guy, #1 pick, and it was like, didn't work out. You know what I mean? Like,
you recall when the Browns took him 1, the whole world was shocked. It wasn't like nobody thought he was the #1 pick.
But we thought he was going to be at least 3rd. I mean, that year, the quarterbacks were nuts that year, right? I mean, it was nuts. That was a nuts class, but we'll see what happens with any of that, guys. But hey, this has been great, but we got to move up into these picks here, guys. We've been rolling on, man. So let's hit these sponsors real quick, guys. Hey, Old English, this official beer DWMOD podcast. You guys know that. You got to get some for the games this weekend. We got Anthony back again. We're always going to be pushing you guys to get over to rustbeltclub.com. Check out the gear. He's wearing a shirt right now, Two Molars Tavern. You see that shirt on the street and you inquire, man. You say, hey, what is that from, man? And then you find out because it's an acquired taste. Get on the site. Get that deal. It's DWMOD 30. Get you some sweet gear. The most comfortable shirts you're going to wear. They're comfortable as hell. And let's hear from our guy, Gordon Butterfield, and what just happened.
What just happened? What just happened is brought to you by the RustBeltClub.com. They make the most comfortable clothes you ever wore, and they're guaranteed to be the most conversational. Put on your Rust Belt gear, and people are guaranteed to get inquisitive. But that Tom Brady's joint, where can I grab them cakes? Who won that game? Oh, good morning, counselor. Is that a tooth beer or 2? I know that guy. Ho, that's a haunted water park. Abracadabra. And that's the RustBeltClub.com. It's for folks with an inquired taste. It's always a game of chance on the giant water slide, but Janet Kopakowski's ready to see what turns up on the river. And take off. Oh, she's too stiff. That's a bad idea. Fusion surgery. Oh, my. Let's take another look and see where she destroys vertebrae C4 and 5 and 6 and 7. She's sky high and looks like she died 5 days ago. Rigor mortis. Ho ho my. Her back's as red as a beet. Oh, what just happened?
That's Gordon. Man, he's got it, nailed it again. This guy, I don't know. That's why he's in the Hall of Fame. That's what he does. Time for another episode of All Right Bet. Well, hey, let's get into it then. That's going to be NFL Pick'em Challenge, guys. The standings from the weekend. Andy out quick trying to defend that crown. He's got 19 points. I'm behind him at 15 points. And Anthony, you're in third right now with 12. But I will
I got it up with 12. All right.
Yeah, I will remind you that last year after the first week, Andy was deep in the cellar, made a stellar comeback, pulled within one going into the Super Bowl, and won the thing on Super Bowl Sunday. So you're never out of this thing. You are never out of it. Let's jump into the first game here, guys. We got the Texans plus 9.5 at Baltimore. The over-under is 45. And I'm going to tell you, look, the Ravens are the pick here, right? The Ravens are the pick here, right? But are they? Like, Lamar's the MVP. He's toasting people. Him and Monken have hooked up, and it looks fantastic. They're averaging like 30 points a game. Their defense is even better. In the last 7 games, they've given up 20 points once. The Ravens absolutely look like the team to beat. And, you know, Stroud is a different outlier, though, right, for this defense. He's not a guy that you're going to be able to hey, we'll blitz him, we'll pressure him, we can force him out of the pocket type deal. He's a real deal quarterback where if you blitz him, he's going to find the spot and kill you. If you're trying to cloud cover a guy, he's going to get you on the backside. He's a real deal quarterback. So, I mean, he can beat you in a lot of different ways. So we'll see how that defense can respond to him. But they got to try to keep Lamar from getting in rhythm, right? That's the way it goes. You got to get out in front of the Ravens if you're going to win. If you start trailing, this game is over and you are toast. Can Lamar finally win his first playoff game? As you pointed out, Anthony, Baker Mayfield has more playoff wins than Lamar Jackson. I'm going to say that he's going to exercise the demons here, man. That Houston D's been looking good, but they're not going to be able to handle this Ravens offense. So that's it, man. Give me Lamar and the Ravens. I'm laying the 9.5. I'm taking the Ravens all the way, and give me the over. It's going to be Ravens 38, Texas Roadhouse 27. What do you think, Andy?
I'm going to do this quickly. I know we're on a time crunch. So I'm going to read you just some overall stats. Can I quickly about a little gambling wise here? Home favorites are just 42% against the spread in this round over the last 20 years. 1 seeds, guys, are 35% against the spread, 10, 25, and 1 when favored by 10 or less. 1 seeds, by the way, have covered only twice in 20 years on the same day and have gone 0-2 8 times in that span. The average 1 seed fails to cover by 2.1 points per game since 2003. Also, home teams on a 1-game losing streak, San Francisco and Baltimore qualify because they both lost in Week 18. Are 3-15 against the spread in this round. Road teams that missed last year's playoffs, Houston would be one, by the way, and Green Bay would be the other. Road teams that missed last year's playoffs are 27-13 against the spread, 68%. Division road underdogs, by the way, of 7 to 11 points are 12-23 straight up. That's pretty good. That is pretty good. So that's just straight up winning. So having said all that, just to give you a little teaser into these next 2 games we're about to pick. I'm taking Houston at plus 9.5. I'll take Houston at 10. I'll take Houston at 8. I'll take Houston at 11. The back door is going to be wide open for Houston. Like there's no doubt. The Ravens give up 4.5 yards per carry. The Texans will have some advantages running the ball, which will open it up for Stroud. Stroud had no touchdowns in Week 1. He's going to have 1 or 2. The Ravens also are going to have a little rust. Texans can get a little pressure on Lamar. That's going to make Lamar a little more Lamar-y and jumpy in this playoff game. So I got the Ravens winning by about a touchdown or less. So give me the Texans plus 9.5. I'm all over that number. I love it. I love the Texans here. I love the high number. Ravens over. Ravens win over Texans, but also you should bet the Texans money line just in case.
All right, man. What do you think, Anthony?
It's gonna be lame, but I'm literally I'm doing what Andy did. I got at 9.5 is just too much in this round. But you know, I think I'm never going to bet on the Ravens in the playoffs based on I don't know if you've watched past Ravens playoff games. They don't just lose. They don't move the ball. It's like no one watched tape on them until the playoffs. But I think this Ravens team is going to be a little bit different. So I'm going to take Texans to cover, Ravens to win, and I'm going to take the over. I think the over is pretty low. But Texans got to go from Joe Flacco to Lamar Jackson is going to be a little bit of a shift in how you defend that. But yeah, Texans at 9.5, Ravens to win it, and give me the over.
By the way, I saw. Let me add one last thing. I remember seeing this is that since 2018, the Ravens under Harbaugh, 2-5 against the spread, but 6-1 straight up. So that tells me you probably are going to want to take the Ravens to win, the Texans to cover.
Okay, all right, man. There you have it. Andy, excellent stuff laid out there for you guys that are going to be gambling. Those some great points, man. I might have to change my mind at the end of that. Let's jump into this next one here. Packers plus 9.5 at the 49ers. The over-under is 50. Look, we know the Packers went in there and toasted Dallas. That's an outlier. It is what it is, right? That 49ers D is not that Dallas D. We all knew what that Dallas D was. We talked about it earlier in the show, right? And they put them right where they wanted them, got out in front of them. This 49ers D is different, guys. There's no doubt about it. Packers offense is going to be slowed down. Andy, we talked about it earlier in the year. It looked like teams had figured out the 49ers offense and Purdy, right? Rush 3, drop 8, get him in those windows in the middle of the field and gives him a ton of trouble. They figured that out. They have figured that out, the 49ers and Purdy, and he looks like he's back on track. They're playing well. Too many weapons for me on that 49er side of the ball, and the defense is just too damn good. I think it's midnight for the Packers. They're going to be a popular upset pick this weekend, and I won't be shocked if they win the game because they're looking real good right now. But I'm going to have to roll with Debo in a classic. What you got on my 40 Packers? And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to take – this is going to be one of my locks of the week here. I'm going to take the 49ers, laying the whole 9.5, and take the under – 49ers 31, Packered up and heading home 17. That's where I'm at. What do you think, Anthony?
All right, so this game's going to decide a lot for our playoffs because I'm thinking the exact same outcome from Texans Ravens I am for Packers and the Niners. 9.5 based on what we saw last week. I know it's the Niners; they're going to be different, but I don't know that Packers team and Love. I know the other shoe's got to drop at some point, but why now? It's looking good. So I'm going to take the Packers at plus 9.5. I got the Niners to win it. I think they're going to squeak it out. I think it's going to be a tough game. And I'm going to ride with the over as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, man. I'm going to be on an island here. I think I'm going to be in the cellar after this, ain't I, Andy? What are you doing?
Well, 49ers can't stop the run. They're not very good at it. Aaron Jones is the healthiest he's been easily. He looks sharp. San Francisco defense is typically great in the first half of the game. Second half, it kind of falls apart ultimately, which is weird, and they're not really that good at home. San Francisco's defense is not. Anyway, I don't think Green Bay is going to give away the game. I think they have the fewest turnovers. I think, it's going to be, that is sometimes helpful for San Francisco. Obviously they create a lot of chaos, like chaotic plays. San Francisco's lost 3 of their last 4 home games, which always makes me a little nervous, right? This team reminds me, the Packers, this game reminds me of Bengals San Francisco earlier this year, where the Bengals came in super hot and everybody's like, Joe Burrow, Joe Burrow, Joe Burrow. And then you're like, oh, San Francisco's going to just destroy Joe Burrow. And then they didn't. And then Cincy won 31-17, and San Francisco looked horrible. And then they looked horrible to the Ravens. And then they lost, I like San Francisco, but I think this is too many points personally. So, here's the one stat though. If you're taking San Francisco, I would like this is, and again, I may switch when it comes to game time. San Francisco has their past 10 wins, their last 10 wins have all come by 10 or more. So if they win, it's a cover, right? That is the key. So I have written down San Francisco in the under. So I hate it. I want to change my mind so badly, but I still may, but I'm going to make my decision in 2 seconds. I know we're running out of time. I can't decide. I want to say Green Bay. My instinct is Green Bay. I'm going to go with Green Bay to cover, San Francisco to win, and give me the under.
Okay. All right, man. There it is. Everybody all over the board. I'm on a lonely island. Let's jump to this next one here. Near and dear to my heart. We got the Bucks +6 at the Lions. The over-under here is 48.5, and I'm going to keep it short, man. Great season for Baker. He's done really well down in Tampa Bay. Nobody saw that coming. That defense is playing really, really well, and the Lions have a chance to make Detroit history here by winning 2 playoff games in 1 year. We've won 1 playoff game in the history of the Super Bowl era before last weekend. We have a chance to win 2 in the same year. The Tampa D is tough, but the Eagles are a dumpster fire, right? The Eagles were a dumpster fire. Baker's not going to be so comfortable with Hutchinson and them guys barreling down on him. I think they're going to get to him quick. And I'm just going to, you know what? This is going to be my second lock of the week. Give me the Lions laying all the points in the world. Give me all my money on the Lions to cover in this game. I'm going to take the Lions handing 100 points to the Buccaneers, man. I'm going to take it, man. Detroit, 34, Buccanopes, 13, and give me the over in this one. Anthony, what do you think?
All right, I'll keep it short. That's your book. Let you write that one. This is my emotional bet of the week. Obviously, I still have near and dear the Buccaneers in my heart because of Baker, and that 6 is a lot. So I don't know, man. I hate to do this because the Lions are good, but I'm taking Bucks also to win it, and then the over.
All right, sticking with the Bucks, man. They did you well this week. You never know. You never know. Andy, where you at?
Lions beat them in Tampa 20-6 this year. I think Tampa Bay is better offensively on the road than at home normally. I was looking it up last night, guys. I did some homework today, and the Bucs scored a 20 or more points on the road like 6 or 7 times, and at home they did it 4. So I just think their offense will carry a little bit. The other part that makes me nervous is the second half of Lions games are always. They're like the Lions are kind of like the NFL's version of the Dillon Panthers, where it's like some fucking Friday Night Lights, some madness happens at the end of the game. The Texans truly are the Dillon Panthers because their games are wacko from all the way. But the Lions are the NFC Dillon Panthers, where you're like, don't leave because something crazy is going to happen at the end, whether it's a flag or a non-call or a Hail Mary. So that just tells me that I'm going to want to ride the plus points. I'm going to go with the 6. I also think Mike Evans' game is coming. I like it. There's already a prop out like 3.5 catches. Like, give me the over on that all day. So you can pass. You can pass on the Lions. So give me the over. Give me the Lions to win, but give me Tampa to cover.
All right, man. All right.
I also think it'll go up. I also think that line will go up. Oh, last thing too. Tease the Lions. That's a great tease.
That's a great tee spot. Well, let's jump into this last game. Andy, this is your ballpark here. The Chiefs +2.5 at Buffalo. The over-under is 46, and Patrick Mahomes is on the road in the playoffs for the first time in his life. Yeah, that's true. That's weird, but it is true. Kansas City receivers finally catching the ball last week. They just needed it to be ice-ass cold and hard as a rock, and now they're catching it. There's no drops, right? But, hey, they look pretty good going in this game, but I am riding Buffalo big time right now, man. I jumped on them earlier. They look really good. They're playing solid. Allen is keeping it in check with the turnovers. This team looks like they're on a mission. Pounded out the rest of the season. Knocked the Dolphins down. I mean, look, you know the story with them right now. They're a little banged up, though. Buffalo got really banged up in that Steelers game, and they've got some guys down. This could be a barn burner, but hey, give me my third lock of the week, guys. 3. I'm locking 3 out of 4 games here. I don't normally do this, but give me my third lock of the week. I'm going to take the Bills, laying the 2.5 over the Chiefs. I'm going to take the over in this game, and it's Buffalo 27, Mahomes 23. What do you think, Andy?
Look, if this in 1 week we're going to be laughing as we see Mahomes in the AFC title game again.
You could.
It's amazing to have that dude on the team. Look, I'm as of right now, if it's under a field goal, I'll probably ride with Buffalo, to be honest. I just think like eventually the year does kind of catch up to you. And I think the crowd is going to be electric in Buffalo, just like it would be in Detroit. They're going to be ready to eat the Chiefs and eat up Mahomes. But what the Bills will become a run team, and I think that's going to give the Chiefs a little bit of trouble. But I just think it's the Bills' year. So it's their turn. So I'm gonna go. Last thing before I say the horrible words, because I'm trying to dodge my way out of it. If that number goes up to 3.5, you got to bet the Chiefs. Also, if the Bills if it's at halftime and the Chiefs are up 21-17 or whatever, it's going to be a close one. Mahomes is coming, right? Like, so the Bills need to get on it earlier. Get on the Chiefs fast, quick and fast. Because in that Steelers game, the Bills were not good the last 2.5 quarters. Anyway, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to take the Chiefs. Give me the Chiefs. Give me the Chiefs. Give me the money line. Give me the over. As all that talking, I don't want to bet against Mahomes.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. There it is. What about you, Anthony? What do you think, man? Two great quarterbacks.
I think, like Andy said, I think if you had to switch it, it's more the Bills' year than the Chiefs' year. Having said that, it's still the Chiefs and Mahomes. I honestly don't think going on the road they're going to make it into a storyline. I don't think that's going to mean anything to them. The only one dropping passes now for the Chiefs is Kelsey, weirdly enough. So give me the Chiefs with +2.5, but Bills to win. I think it's going to be close. That's just if this one hits, I'm definitely going up in the playoffs, and I am going to take the over just because the Bills ended up they almost covered the over themselves in a game the other day. So I don't want to bet against that again. So give me the over as well. So Chiefs at +2.5, but the Bills to win it, and then give me the over. So we're
all right,
Chiefs and
there
over.
You have it. Everybody is on the record for our picks this weekend, man. Thanks, guys, for jumping in. I know we went a little long this time. We got hot on some things, though. We got heated. So, hey, good luck this weekend, guys. Gamble responsibly, drink responsibly, but have a lot of fun this weekend. Some good football games. We'll see you next time, boys.
Bye.
See ya.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, disagree with me or don't. That's how it works.